Welcome to the Somos Sunnyside podcast, brought to you by the Communications Department of the Sunnyside Unified School District. Thank you for tuning in while we share stories about the bright side of education.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Somos Sunnyside. That's right, we are Sunnyside. And I'm your proud superintendent of the Sunnyside Unified School District, Jose Gastelum. And today we definitely got a unique show for you, a unique episode. We're gonna start with calling it Throwback Thursday. We're gonna change styles a little bit. Usually it's me and my guest, and we're having a great conversation about education. But today, in the room, we have four individuals, including myself. And we're going to do probably a little round robin style, but first I want to introduce this special guest, somebody that is probably special to many, many graduates of Sunnyside High School throughout the years. And I know for a fact he definitely changed my life when it came to writing essays and when it came to success in college, because without that, I think I would have struggled. And so I proudly introduce to you Mr. Jim Heintz. That's right. We got Mr. Jim Heintz on the show today. So, Mr. Heintz, how are you?
I am doing well. Thank you very much.
You speak well.
Thank you. I'm an educated man.
You are. And so, if you of course that was a joke, and if you ever had Mr. Heintz, he would ask you, how are you? And if you said you're doing well, he would tell you you were speaking well. And so I'm trying not to screw up here as I'm speaking, but it's such an honor to have you on the show, and I really mean it when I say you changed lives. I think I've never ever heard anyone speak bad about you. It's always been positive. And so you impacted, inspired thousands of students that went through Sunnyside High School. My personal experience, as I mentioned earlier, was you gave me confidence as a student, you gave me confidence as a writer, and I just love the way you did it. And I now as an educator, we always look at teaching strategies and teaching philosophies that as a student I wasn't, but I knew in your class I was learning, and I knew in your class that I was gaining confidence as a learner. And so it definitely paid dividends for me and thousands of other kids that even tried to mimic you as they became educators. So welcome. I mean,
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you being here.
I appreciate those kind words. I like to say this: I wish my parents were alive. My father would certainly appreciate the kind words you said about me, and my mother would probably actually believe them.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they're definitely proud of you, looking down on you for sure. And I before we get into it, I do want to introduce also in the room. We have Marisela Felix, who is our Executive Director of Communications. So we also have Katrina Armijo, who works in our Communications Department as well as Assistant Director. And what we all have in common is we're all Sunnyside grads, and we all had you as our English teacher. And so I know now they call it ELA, but back then I think we just called it writing. It was just writing. Was that correct?
That is correct. And to follow up on what you said before, every time I would talk to my students, I would say, once I retire and once we see one another, the first thing I want you to do is always tell me your name, introduce your name, so I don't have to worry about that. And the second one is I'm always going to ask you, how are you doing?
That's right.
And you had better tell me I'm doing well, Mr. Heintz.
Yeah.
Good and well. I thought that students had to be taught not only how to write academically, but they're put into a lot of situations in professional settings where people are going to judge you by the way you speak.
That's correct.
And one of them is good and well, that you need to do that. And I do have a story on that one if you want.
All right, let's jump into it. Go for it.
We're going back in time. I would teach that to my students, good and well, when to use it. And back in the 80s, and they still have it. You know how the city of Tucson has a golf tournament? And what the golf tournament people would like to do is sometimes bring kids like from the South Side and other schools, so they could experience that kind of culture. So a couple of my kids were chosen to go caddy for the people at the tournament. And one of them was was chosen to be the caddy of the athletic director of a certain university. So they're playing golf, and the athletic director at the university hits a drive, and he says, "Boy, I hit that one good, didn't I?" And my student, I hadn't taught them to do this, but my student looked at that person and said, "Well, sir, you hit that well."
Yeah. Academic English.
Academic English.
That's right.
And they come back and tell me the story, and I'm thinking to myself, "Whoa, I'm not sure of that." How did he react? And he said, "Well, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Good for you. What school do you go to?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "I go to Sunnyside High School." And I thought, yes.
That's right.
That's exactly Sunnyside High School. We speak correctly there.
We sure do.
Yeah.
We sure do. And so tell us a little bit about, your career. I know you are a popular man, but I know there's people out there, our listeners, that are probably trying to put it together and want to know exactly, how many years you put in Sunnyside. Of course, I'm the oldest student here. I went to school, graduated in 92, and that was 33 years ago, right? So I luckily had you, I believe 3 of my 4 years. I had you my freshman through junior year.
I'm just so
and then
proud.
Mr. Winslow my senior year.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I had Jay Winslow, yes.
All right. I'll tell you, because Sunnyside, you guys grew up in Sunnyside, but guess what? So did I. All of my adulthood has been in the Sunnyside community, and I feel very fortunate. Basically what happened was I went to the University of Arizona, and then in 1973, I wanted to become a teacher. So I came to Sunnyside, and I was given a contract. Very exciting. I was also at the time in love. And in order to get married, I had to have a job. So Sunnyside provided me the opportunity to get married. It was funny though, this is a true story. I was hired or given a contract on one day, and the next day I asked my wife to marry me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. So we go to her parents, and her mother would not acknowledge the engagement until her daughter had a ring. Well, I had no money. You've all been through college. You don't have any money at the end of college. And here's the first paycheck that I ever received from the Sunnyside Unified School District was used to pay for my wife's engagement ring. And we got married that Christmas, and that was in 1973.
Wow.
Right? So I started in 1973. I started at the old Sunnyside Junior High School that is now part of the University of Arizona.
Correct. Valencia Road there.
Valencia Road, that's where I started. I started as a history teacher, became an English teacher, became a reading teacher, went over to the new we called it the new Sunnyside Junior High. That's because of the airplanes coming over. They built us a new school. I taught there and decided, well, then I want to go to the high school. I'd like to teach at the high school. So I got a job at Sunnyside High School. And then I was thinking maybe I'd become an administrator, right? So I went back to school and got my administrative degree, took a job at Apollo Middle School for a couple of years, and I was the director of student affairs. And basically what I did for 2 years, I kind of suspended kids.
Yeah. In charge
My
of
whole
safety.
job was to kind of look and find out what they were doing wrong and then take care of it. And one night I came home to my wife and I said, Susie, this is not what I got into education for. This is not what I want to do. I want to teach. And she backed me up, and I told them I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go back to teaching. And I went back to Sunnyside High School. And that's where my love was. That's where my passion was. And I spent the next 30 years, I guess, teaching at Sunnyside High School.
So a total of 39 years in
39
education?
years, 39 years in the district.
What was your last year at Sunnyside? When did you retire? What year was that?
We were talking about that earlier. I think I left Sunnyside High School in maybe 2009, 2008, 2009. And I came over to Central Administration, and I was doing staff development. I was teaching the EEI, and I was teaching the classroom management.
That's right.
And I did that for a couple of years, and then I fully retired in 2012. So that would have been I spent 39 years of my formative years in Sunnyside.
Yeah. It's funny, we had a joke here with Marisela and Katrina. So the other day I did the test with them, right? You were talking about classroom management, a lot of the Harry Wong stuff, back in the day. And
You bet.
he says essential elements of instruction. See, I was paying attention all these years, right?
I'm impressed.
And I was telling them, we were in the room and I said, so we were excited. Mr. Heintz is coming. Are you serious? We were all in here just with big smiles and reminiscing about our times at Sunnyside. And then I said, chimichanga.
That's right.
I told them. And then they gave me this look and I said, stop, look, and listen. I said, chimichanga.
That's right.
And they didn't know I was disappointed. They did not know what it was. I said,
They were my students.
I said, did he change his signal word or what? And then I said, how about chimmy? Because chimmy meant quiet
Slow
down.
it down.
See?
Slow it down.
See? I was paying attention.
People
in class.
used to ask me, why do you use chimichanga?
Yeah.
Why do you say? And you're right. When I say chimichanga, it's stop, look, and listen. Think about your own classrooms.
Right.
How many teachers did you have? When you were in your classroom and the kids were talking, they'd say, "Please be quiet. May I have your attention, please?" Will everybody please stop talking?
I got it a little bit. They were a little more aggressive with me. It wasn't that nice when I was talking.
Well, and it didn't work. And it was like they didn't even hear you.
Right.
Oh.
It wasn't like they were being nasty or belligerent, but they have heard that from teachers so many years, and so many teachers many times didn't really mean it.
Well, and kids are not paying attention to it. They're not surprised. And so I remember when you were telling us this, when you're in the room and kids are talking, I call it the controlled chaos, right? It gets a little loud, and you say chimichanga. Everybody's like, what? Why? It just pauses you. It's just
that's the whole,
shocks
that's
you, right?
And
that was the intent.
That's
that was the
what
intent to
I remember
get
a lot of
everybody's
things.
attention.
I remember a lot of things from your class, but that's not one of them.
Well, you guys must have been really
You were
good
paying
students.
attention,
That's why my
We're a quiet class.
And when I did the chimichanga, you also have to you have to look at everybody in the eye, because I would say chimichanga, eyes and ears, please. And I would make eye contact with every one of them. And if there was one that was not making eye contact, I just stayed with that. Because if you let one kid not stop, look, and listen, the next time it's going to be 2, the next time it's going to be 3, the next time it's going to be 5. And pretty soon, chimichanga is just like, may I have your attention, please? Please be quiet. Would you stop talking?
Yeah. And, just going back, I used to always think, later in life when I became an educator myself and was learning how to teach, I remember I used to think of you and your wife as like the dream couple, the power couple, just because you guys were both educators and, Mrs. Heintz worked in Flowing Wells and did a lot of professional development in many roles. And so she was the guru of the work up there.
EEI,
EEI, and just the success that they've had, for many, many years academically. And a shout out to Dr. Stolzplus, who's the superintendent there. That work just continues. They continue to do very well. And so you guys were always this power couple. Later on in life, I figured it out. I was like, man, his wife's an educator too. And
Dr. Stolzplus was a new teacher under Susie in EEI. And when Susie left Flowing Wells, Kevin took her place as the staff development coordinator.
Wow, I did not know that.
So they're very, very close.
Yeah, super cool. So, you've been retired since 2012.
Correct.
Right? And so, when you retired, did you have specific goals? I know you're an avid golfer. You put a lot of golf in. I know you're a big Notre Dame fan. I was thinking of you because I went to my first Notre Dame game in South Bend this last month against USC.
Oh my gosh.
So I could not stop thinking of you because I remember Monday. Let's see what happened Monday. If Notre Dame lost, what would Mr. Heintz be wearing Monday morning?
It'd be a day of mourning. You were in all black.
I wore all
That's right. That's right.
all
You
black.
remember that? Oh my God.
I got a great story on that too.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of years there where they weren't very good. And as a result, I was coming in black every Monday. I'm not a coffee drinker, but every day before school I would stop at the Circle K and get my Diet Coke. So I go in on a Monday after a Notre Dame loss. I'm in my total black. I got black on everywhere. I bring my Coke up and I buy pretzels. Pretzels is my breakfast. I bring up my pretzels and my Diet Coke, and the man behind at the cash register just goes, "No, Father, it's on me." He thought I was a priest.
Yeah.
I'm all black. I said, no. I said, okay, thanks.
You did the sign of the cross and went on, right? That is awesome. But
another thing that we did with the kids, I mean, and they would always look at me if I came in on a Monday and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Heintz. I'm sorry."
Yeah, I remember that.
But then we also had in that golf. Do you remember we used to play for the pink ball?
I remember that.
Do you remember
the
that?
pink tie?
And what would happen is it would be Mr. Nito and Mr. Rapola and myself and other teachers from Desert View. And whoever lost on Sunday, on our golf day, they had to wear a pink tie.
That's right.
Whether it was at administration building, whether it was at Desert View, you had to wear a pink tie. Well, can you imagine this? Notre Dame loses on Saturday. I lose on Sunday. Guess what I'm going to school in on Monday?
Black and pink.
Black with a pink tie.
Yeah,
and the kids would just laugh at me.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about, that was such a, just great administrators back then, and nowadays, administrators don't stay in jobs very long. It's just what the research is, right? And so, Mr. Neal was in his role for over 20 years as a principal, and you had mentioned, the leadership team back then was Raul Nido, Mr. Chuck Jers, Mr. Abel Morado, and Mr. Gene Rapola. And it was such a strong team, and I was there as a freshman. I don't know when that team was put together, but I was there. I had them for, I believe, all my years there. They were a team together. Dr. Morado might have left, I think, my junior year or something like that. But it's so important to have great teachers, great leaders on your campus that let teachers do their jobs. And what I'm getting at here is, I don't ever remember you getting upset in class. Like, there's teachers that have, and this isn't a knock on teachers, it's just people have bad days and they, their emotions come out. And sometimes, myself as a teacher, I had bad days, and my students probably saw that, at times, right? Where you might be a little bit more quieter, or you're a little bit more short with them, or,
sure.
And I never saw that from you. Never, not once. I mean, what you got Mr. Heintz at his best every single day. And so my question to you is, did you have bad days? Did you experience that? And what was your strategy behind that?
We've talked about some of the Mondays. Those are bad days. Black,
Notre Dame losses.
Black and pink was a bad day. It's a very good question because it was kind of on purpose. You're right. Teachers have good days and they have bad days. But I always thought the one thing a student wants when they walk into the classroom is that all of those outside problems that they have in their families, in their sporting events, I wanted my classroom to be as consistent and as the same every day, so that they never had to worry about it. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, there were days when I would go home and I was thinking, gee, is my dad going to be happy? Is he going to be sad? Is he going to be, yelling at us, or, and sometimes you're thinking, do I really want to, am I ready to go home and handle all the chaos? I love the word that you used earlier. Well, the classroom should be a place where there is no chaos, where they can come in and they know exactly what's going to be happening. Yeah. They know the procedures. This is Harry Wong. And, when they walked into my classroom, they knew that the first thing they were going to do was bell work. They were going to have an assignment so that everybody could settle down. And then for the rest of the period, I don't want them worrying about whether I'm in a good mood or, how are we going to treat Mr. Heintz today? That shouldn't be their goal. Their goal should be, what is it that we're going to learn? Yeah. So I had good and bad days, but I masked it, because they shouldn't have to deal with that. If I'm having a bad day, the student shouldn't have to deal with my problems.
I was going to say that's the thing that I remember probably the most in your classroom. I mean, aside from all the learning that went on, you just made me such a great writer and just taught me how to, write and appreciate English at a different level. But I think when we talked a little bit about this on the phone, it was the video that you would show at the beginning of every school year, which was Cipher in the Snow. And you know what's happening in the classroom when you're going through these routines, right? But it wasn't until years later where it kind of struck me and I said, wow, Mr. Heintz had such a special way of creating an environment where everybody felt seen, everybody felt heard. It was a safe space, regardless of whether we were having a bad day or we were struggling with something. We just knew that there was something that was to be expected in your class consistently every day, and that was a welcoming space for us.
And you were just so positive. I remember, doing the 5-paragraph essays, and you just broke it down so easy to learn, right? And when a lot of times students look for gratification, they look for a little feedback from teachers, and every time, we would show you work, you were like, there you go, keep going, keep writing, you would tell us. And so, it's funny that we share the same sentiments, right? When we talk about the impact you had on us, and it's funny, I always attribute my success in college to taking your classes, because in college, you have to write essays. In college, you have to be convincing. You have to, and between you and my wife proofreading all my essays, my girlfriend at the time, it was, I learned how to do it, and college became easy after that.
Let me give you a quick story on that. You were talking earlier about the importance of administration. And you were talking about Mr. Nito and Jers and Murado and Mr. Rapol. Unbelievable story, and I don't know if I've ever shared this with the Sunnyside people. In the early 90s, we were finding out that the graduates of Sunnyside High School were getting accepted to the University of Arizona and to ASU and NAU. And we were that was a real goal of ours, is to get our students accepted to go to higher education. And what they did is they found out after a couple of years that we were getting our kids into colleges, but they weren't staying there. We would get them to go for a year, and then some of the counselors did a study and found out that we were losing kids after the first year. So our administration, brought in some of these kids and said, "What's going on? What? You got a scholarship to the U of A, you're there for 1 year, and then you're gone. What's going on?" And they came up with the answer. One of the answers was they didn't know how to write academically for college, They were great mathematicians, they could do the science, but when they got into the English writing and the English they were having trouble. So Mr. Nito and Mr. Jers and Mr. Murado talked to me and said, what can we do about this? So what we decided to do, I went to the University of Arizona and I talked to the English department. And I talked to the department head and I said, what can we do? What do you expect of our students when they come to the University of Arizona? What do you expect? What are they supposed to be able to do? And he said, okay, thanks for coming. And he told me exactly what was going to be expected of them as a freshman at the U of A and NAU and ASU, because they all had the same curriculum, right? So we found out, they told me that what the students are going to have to do is they're going to have to pick a controversial subject, something that is controversial. And I think you probably did this. Whether it's capital punishment, whether it's immigration, whether it's some social issue that is controversial. And they're going to have to write a personal experience narrative essay, right? And I said, great. And he said, then what you do is after they do that and they have a controversial topic, they have to write and I'm going to use English terms here, not to scare anyone away. They had to write a contextual rhetorical analysis on that controversy. They had to research it. What are the problems, what are the views? And then after they write that paper, they're going to have to take that same subject, that same research, and write a persuasive paper on their side of that controversial issue. Do you remember this?
Totally.
You remember this, right?
I have them right here.
You have it? So I came back to you, I know exactly what the U of A is going to require of you your freshman year. And I haven't told you this, but I was a graduate of South Point, right? So I felt like I had a pretty good education, But I said to my students, I promise you that if you learn what I have to teach you, I promise you that you are going to get a better English education at Sunnyside High School than you would if you went to South Point. And I'm telling you right now, it worked.
It worked.
It worked.
Sure did.
I taught all of these to the AP English kids that were going to college. And sure enough, they knew it. And here's maybe one of the proudest moments of my life. A kid comes back the next year and says exactly what you kind of said. Mr. Heintz, thank you so much for teaching this, And everybody, I'm just teaching what was expected. I didn't make this up, all of this other kind of stuff. And he says, Mr. Heintz, you're not going to believe what happened. I said, what happened? Have I told you this story before? He goes, well, we go into our freshman composition class at the U of A, and they say, okay, what you're going to have to do now is a, personal experience, and they go through the whole thing. And one of my kids he raised his hand and said to the teacher, well, on that contextual rhetorical analysis, are we going to have to look for appeals and fallacies in those things? And the teacher goes, you bet you are. You're going to have to be able to do that. And another one raised their hand and said that on the persuasive paper, are we going to have to give appeals and refutations and confirmations for each one of those? And the teacher goes, you bet you are. That's exactly what you're going to do. And so they're thinking, okay, I can do that. They get out of class, like they always do, and all of a sudden a couple of kids come up to my student, and say to them, hey, the ones from South Point, and the ones from Sabino, and the ones from Saguaro, and the ones from Catalina Foothills, and they go, hey, would you like to come down to Louis Lower Level and have a cup of coffee with us? We've got those kids coming to our kids, saying, can you help us out? And they said, how do you know this? How do you know? Where did you get all this stuff? Yeah. I got it at Sunnyside High School.
That's right.
Yeah.
Kids can learn whatever you teach them if you set your expectations high and teach to those expectations. And all of you were successful. And it's not because of Mr. Heintz. It's because of the curriculum that was taught to you. It was the right one. So many times kids get, we at Sunnyside High School, we started to believe in, I don't know if you've heard this, we believe in mastery learning, not mystery testing. It was a mystery for our kids when they went to the U of A. What am I going to have to do? What is going to be required of me? And all we had to do at Sunnyside was to teach what it was that you were going to have to do. And guess what? You can do it. Yeah. You did it, and you did it extremely well. Students went to the U of A, ASU, and NAU, they all had the curriculum and they did. So it's a great story.
And confidence is everything, right? I mean, once you feel confident in the material, it's like you belong. I mean, so many of us were first generation college students. I mean, me personally, I left home. I went to NAU, and knowing that I'm like, okay, I can do this work. I can, keep up with my peers and not let it be a mystery what's being taught in the classroom.
Right.
It's everything to success. Yeah.
I used to promise the kids, I said, what I'm teaching you, I'm not promising you're going to get an A or a B, because
yeah.
But I promise you, if you learn this, you're going to pass your English class.
It's funny. I learned my lesson in high school with one of my teachers, and I asked him one day, I'm like, hey, I said, I want an A in your class. I want an A. Can you give me an A in your class? And he's like, I don't give grades, you earn them.
That's right.
So he put me in my place right away. But, piggybacking a little bit about, what Marisela mentioned about, confidence. I mean, confidence makes the difference. And earlier I mentioned, you provided the feedback that helped students become confident as learners. And so, that's so huge, because imposter syndrome still exists. When we went to college as first generation college going students, you can't help but think, because you don't have the experiences, or your siblings before you didn't have the experiences, if you belong. Can you compete? And you had to convince yourself that you could. And it took special moments, like little wins, right? Little wins where, oh man, these people put on their shoes and their pants the same way I do. I can compete with them. Doesn't matter if they went to school in affluent areas or not. And we continue to see that in Sunnyside. There's been a lot of success. I mean, we nearly had $30 million in scholarships last year. We have students earning prestigious scholarships, and our graduation rates are up there. Sunnyside's at 90% graduation rate right now. Deseree's at 88% graduation rates. Sometimes we don't get the right amount of respect for our academic performance as we should. Sunnyside, and Desiree definitely this year with football,
that's right.
they're known for athletics and fine arts. But you know what? We're doing a darn good job with academic performance as well. And that's attributed, and that credit goes to our educators. It goes to our teachers. It goes to our leadership, our administrators. Earlier you were talking about retention of leadership. Last year, of the 21 sites, I believe we replaced 2 principals, and both were because of promotions. And so it just speaks volumes, because I believe my first year in this role, I think there was 17 new leaders in 14 different schools. And so, and I'm not taking credit for it, I'm just mentioning it, that consistency is what you need, and people believing in what you're doing and believing in your kids is why they stay, right? And so, and they feel valued as well. So, we always say, tell your story, or else, it's not going to be told at all if you don't tell your story. And so it's going to be misinterpreted. So we try to do a good job of telling our story as well. So we're going to cut to a quick commercial, but don't go away. We have a legendary teacher here, Mr. Jim Heintz, and we want to hear a lot more from what he's been doing during retirement.
You will love SUSD. Don't believe us? Just watch. In Sunnyside Unified School District, students dream big, learn boldly, and grow confidently. From hands-on STEM and arts programs to student athletes earning athletic scholarships, Sunnyside District gives every student a place to shine. Enrollment for the 26-27 school year is now available. Enroll today at susd12.org.
All right, we are back. Again, we got Mr. Heintz in the house, and man, I wish I had cameras. I wish this was live. I wish we had like feeds from the public, because I would love to hear the reaction from just all the former students that are out there about Mr. Heintz. And I know we're sharing our experiences, and I know these experiences are probably really common to the experiences other individuals had. But I can't tell you how many times I've heard people drop your name, Mr. Heintz, when it comes to their high school experience, whether it was writing, whether it's just, interacting with you. And there was you deserve a lot of credit, and there was a lot of other teachers that deserved a lot of credit as well. As we went through Sunnyside High School and other graduates as well. But man, I would love to hear those comments from individuals. You retired in 2012, and so besides golf and watching Notre Dame, what do you do to keep yourself busy?
Is there anything other than that? Is there more to life than that?
Besides living the life, retired.
My wife and I are traveling.
Traveling a lot. Okay.
I didn't travel
Awesome.
much at all when I was teaching.
Absolutely.
But I've kind of got the traveling bug now.
Right.
So we've been to the Panama Canal. And again, I'm going to come back to say it because I'm back here. It's because of Sunnyside.
Right.
Because of my fortunate enough to work in this district with this community for 39 years, I'm in a position now. You have allowed me or helped me get into the position where my wife and I can do some of the traveling that hopefully you can do when you get it.
Yeah. So during your career, what because as you mentioned, you spent 39 years in Sunnyside, and I don't know any other district. I'm already coming up on 29 years, in the district, and I always wondered what is it like in other places, but for you, what kept you here? What kept you here? Because a teacher of your caliber could have probably went anywhere and been hired right on the spot. But what is it that kept you here? Why Sunnyside? I know you had to buy that engagement ring, and you wanted to get married. But what kept you here? I mean,
very easy question, and I don't want it to sound pandering. The Sunnyside community, with its administration, with the parents and the students that I taught, they sincerely cared about their education. I had unbelievable administrative support. I had great parent help. Mm-hmm. I knew the parents of my students. Mm-hmm. And this district gave me the opportunity to become a better teacher. When I first started in this business, I was telling Marisela earlier, when I came out of college, I had a teaching degree, but I didn't know how to teach. I simply didn't. I got eaten alive. You talk about the students that I had in the 1990s. Don't go back to the students in the 1970s. I didn't really know how to teach. Sunnyside allowed me, through their staff development program, to become a better teacher. You're not a born teacher. It really angers me sometimes. Somebody will say, well, gee, you must be a born teacher. No, they don't say that about doctors. They don't say that, about you're a born doctor or you're a born... No, you're not. Teaching, you're not a born teacher. Teaching is both a learning and an art. You have to learn to become a better teacher. And Sunnyside, through their staff development program, offered me that opportunity. They offered my learning from Madeline Hunter, the essential elements of instruction, that taught me the organization of teaching. They gave me the opportunity. Sunnyside brought in Harry Wong and gave us training in classroom management. So when you talk about why did I stay here, and the biggest thing is I found success here. You said it earlier, success breeds success. When you're seeing your students go to the University of Arizona, when you see your students coming back as teachers, as superintendents, as staff members, that is rewarding for a teacher, just like you were talking about the confidence that you have as a student. Once I learned, I think I can do this. I think I can make these kids successful. I think I can do that.
Yeah, well, you sure did. I mean, you did it every day. There's a saying, and I've used this before. I believe it's Maya Angelou's. It talks about kids won't always remember what they learned, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And I think in your case, they remember both. They remember what they learned, and they remember how you made them feel. You were very, very intentional with students and everything you did. I mean, even from the first couple of days of school when you took, the pictures of every single student, right?
This is so,
Right.
see, Marisela, right now, this is so rewarding.
Yeah, I mean,
I've got that.
yeah, I mean, I won't talk about the type of cameras we used back then in the day. But, it took a couple weeks to get the pictures, but no, I'm kidding.
You're right.
But, you took a picture of every single student, every class period, and I remember you had them up against the chalkboard. And, us as students, we acted like, oh, no, we don't want our picture taken. We acted shy. But that deep down inside, we wanted our picture up. We walked in every day checking on our picture.
You sure did.
Right?
And I had students walk into my classroom who I didn't even know come and check out those pictures. They were checking out the ladies. The ladies were checking out the men.
They were taking some.
Yeah. And you're right about wanting their pictures taken. They'd say, oh, no. You have to do it on the first day. You have to take a picture because they're a little off guard at that time. They're like, what's going on? But I can't tell you how many times besides, can we have retakes?
Yeah. I was just going to go there with the retakes. That's funny.
And I would, when I got them developed, I'd always get two of them. Mm-hmm. One for the board, and then I would give you one of those. Yeah. And then I don't know if you remember, but when you were a senior, there was an assignment that I gave you that I told you I would send to you in 4 years.
That's right, 10. It was 10, wasn't it?
I thought it was 4 years after your
graduation.
Your
Four. When I was in your class, I got that assignment as a freshman and as a senior. So I graduated from Sunnyside in 2011, and it was one of the best gifts to receive graduation night was our picture, as well as the
your freshman picture was stapled to your personal experience narrative essay that you had to write in order to get out of my class.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. And my job, and again, this is all Harry Wong. I'm not, this isn't a Heintzism. This is a Harry Wongism. My job was to take those pictures. And if you remember, I just say, give me the name that you want me to call you.
Oh, yeah.
Not your baptismal name, but what name do you want me to call you? So I would write that down. So I would have like 3 sets of pictures. I'd have one for me, one to give away to you, and one for the chalkboard. And my job, and this, I appreciate you bringing it up, my job the first week of school was to learn your first name.
That's right.
That
was the whole intent.
I had everything planned for the first week of school. I was totally prepared. And my only job was within 1 week, and I told you guys, in 1 week, I have to know your first name. And if I don't know your first name, you don't have to do the homework assignment. So that was an impetus for me to learn them. Yeah. And I would go home. We'd be at, Susie would show me the picture and I'd have to give the name. Susie would
you were doing flashcard study.
Yeah, flash pictures of the name. Yeah. But it's building relationships.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And when you can use someone's name, I feel like I'm teaching classroom management.
Yeah.
When you can learn someone's name, people love it. In a real life study, what they did was they put people in a room and they put earphones on them, okay? And it was the news, right? It was all the news, and you had to sit there and listen to it. And then they would ask you questions, like what is, the capital of, And in the research, in one ear they kept telling the news, and in the other ear they said your name and started to talk about you. What did the research show? As soon as they heard their name in the other headset, other phone, they immediately turned off over there and started listening to what was being said. Yeah. So in a classroom, which if you think back, I would constantly be using names. And if I saw somebody who was maybe not totally focused on me, all I would do is use their name in the next sentence, and guess what would happen? All of a sudden, they would kind of People
Yeah.
people love it when you know their names,
Yeah, they sure do.
and students especially.
Well, they feel seen, they feel heard, and think about the student that's in a classroom and the teacher can't remember their name, and you're 1 month in or you're several weeks in, and so that at times happens, and so yeah, I mean, I think everything. I just can't believe how intentional and how well you executed everything, in the classroom. But that just goes to show how prepared you were as well, in the classroom.
Marisela mentioned Cipher in the Snow. I think it's what, 13, 14 minutes.
Sure.
I think every student, every teacher should see it every year. And that came right out of that story.
Yeah.
For those who are listening, it's a story about a little boy who all of a sudden dies. He just dies. He gets off the school bus and goes into the snow and dies. And cipher means zero, like cipher in the snow. He's a nobody in the snow. And they go to the school and they're trying to figure out why this student died. What happened to it? And they bring in his report and they're reading the report and the teacher is in there and says, Mr. So-and-so was his favorite teacher. And they look at the teacher and they say, well, and the teacher goes, well, I think he might have been in my class. He didn't even know whether the kid was in his class or not. That's wrong. That's just wrong.
Yeah. So, as I'm looking on the table here, I saw that Katrina came in, and it looks like a yearbook. Marisela has a binder. I didn't know if we had homework. I think I missed the homework memo. But what do you guys got there? Tell us a little bit about what you guys got. I mean, I think, as we mentioned, we were all excited when you were coming today, Mr. Heintz. I mean, just a little, almost intimidated, that we have you in the room and not knowing what to say or do, wanting to impress you as your former students. But, I mean, I'm sure these are things that they've hung on to over the years. I'm a lot older, so my thing's probably...
Don't talk to me about old.
What do you guys got? Share what you got there.
So I brought my 2008 yearbook. I was in your freshman honors English class from 2007, 2008 school year. And your class truly changed my life. I loved English and learning all the different tools and how to write well and how to speak well. And one of the I use one of your sayings to my children. So when they're doing homework and I'm telling them, all right, are you ready to move on to the next thing? My son and my daughter will say, I'm done. I'm like, chicken is done, people are finished.
Oh, thank you.
So through the years, that has stuck with me. And the other thing, when I'm out grocery shopping, when I see Altoids, I remember when you're going to make your rounds and talk to us, you never want...
I'm cruising.
Yeah, you're cruising.
You're cruising, yes. You didn't want to be known as the teacher with bad breath.
Yes.
So you would pop an Altoid in, so every time I see Altoids, I think of you.
Oh, thank you. Now that came, did I give you this back story on that one?
Yes, well, during school you did.
And the thirst
The
buster.
nun, that's right.
That's right. I had a nun that would come around and like I said, if I ever become a teacher, they may hate me, they may think I'm the worst teacher in the world, but they're not going to say, God, that guy has bad breath.
Yeah, it was fun going down memory lane, definitely, in preparation for this episode. So I think we all remembered so many things about your class that just made it so memorable. And I couldn't find this because I moved in the last year and a half, and I'm sure it's in a box somewhere. But one of the things that I've held on to forever is the cultural literacy notebook that you prepared for us.
Sure.
And, you talked about this earlier when you said that your goal was to prepare us to go out into the world, that we were well spoken and well prepared to be out in the world, and part of that was that cultural literacy notebook.
Thank you, Marisela.
And I remember you said, I don't ever want you to be caught in a conversation and not know what the Watergate scandal is,
Exactly.
which was one of the things in your notebook. And
It
I held on to
certainly was.
that, and it went to college with me, and it's stayed with me ever since. And
Baker's Dozen. Do you remember the
Yes,
Baker's Dozen?
yes.
You know.
and I brought in my my AP senior English binder with all of the essays that you taught us to write in preparation for college. Persuasive essays and
Oh,
yeah.
Marisela.
I mean, I took it to college with me because I figured it'd be good reference, good
Do you
study
remember?
material.
Do you remember the story on this?
The red ink?
The red ink?
No.
People always say, teachers shouldn't use red ink. Kids don't like it. Red is negative, and every
It's
time you
bleeding.
say
The
it-
paper's bleeding.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I would say. I would say to my students, you're going to see a lot of red here. Now, I don't want you to take it negatively. This is my blood.
Mhm.
I'm writing this. I'm giving my blood to you. That's the redness of it. But this is great.
And it makes the A's look really nice on my paper when they're in red.
I will say, Mr. Heintz, that binder that you had us create, it was my Bible in college. I used it my freshman year. I went
thank
to
you.
Arizona State, and it helped me get an A in my grammar class for journalism.
Oh, that's great.
Well, we won't talk about my grades, but I graduated. I think I was the guinea pig class where Mr. Heintz was using all these strategies, because I don't remember walking out with the binder and the binder of cultural literacy, but I knew how to write a darn essay, though. I knew how to write an essay, and so this is super cool.
We're
And
talking about retirement. I kept all of my binders for myself and
Oh, wow.
everything. And I would say within the last year, I'm 75 now, we were cleaning out the garage and putting in, and within the year is when I have gotten rid of it.
Wow.
So if I ever want to go back memory lane, I'm going to call
Just
you.
call me.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh, Marisela.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And here's another great story. Paper, I started with the ditto machine, and people who are listening, there's a ditto machine.
Yeah.
I started with the
Those
ditto machine.
existed.
But then I started, my packets,
Uh-huh.
condensing things for me into teachable parts.
Mhm.
And I can remember people saying, but, you've gone through your allotment of paper. We were, there it is, yeah.
It's a ditto machine.
We were only given, X amount of,
That's right.
papers.
Budget.
Remember?
I
Yeah,
remember.
budget. We had the budget. So my administration, at Sunnyside High School found the money so that my students or the students, instead of getting like a book that has so many pages that are never used,
Mhm.
we were able to condense things into teachable packets.
Mhm.
I never had a problem with the administration supporting,
That's right.
because it was for them. It was for the students. As you can tell, I feel very fortunate to have had the administration that I
Absolutely.
did during my career.
Yeah.
at Sunnyside.
All right.
Yeah.
So, as we're ending this episode, Mr. Heintz, and I do have to say, man, you look good. You said 75 years old. You got the little Robert Redford thing going on here, man. I mean,
Talk to my wife.
you are gonna have to. People are gonna have to see that picture when we post it online here pretty soon. So, any last comments, any last thoughts that you want our listeners to hear, your former students that are out there? It's been such a pleasure for us to have you.
I've always got something to say.
Always.
Yeah, I've always got something to say. And this is sincere. I'd like to thank the Sunnyside School District and the community for what it has done for me, personally and professionally. Being hired in 1973 provided the means to marry my lovely bride of 53 years, Susie. Thank you, Sunnyside. I'm one of the lucky ones. I worked 39 years as an employee of Sunnyside doing exactly what I wanted to do. Working with the students gave me meaning and purpose to my life, working with you.
Mhm.
And honestly, if given the opportunity to relive my professional life, I would happily reapply to the Sunnyside School District and hope to be rehired. It would be a privilege and an honor to do it all over again.
Well, that was awesome. That was awesome.
And it's from the heart, and I mean it.
Yeah.
I
No,
truly
we
mean
know. It's I think we're all trying to fight back the tears here, but you know, it's such an honor, and I said it earlier, to have you here. I mean, you know, just giving us the opportunity to reminisce. And you know, my message out there to listeners is that teachers make a difference. Teachers make a difference. And you know, we have to remember that, you know, our kids come to us every day wanting to learn. Our kids come to us wanting to be loved, right? Wanting attention. And so it's so important that our interactions with them are positive and impactful every single day, you know. And there's great stories that have come out of Sunnyside. I mean, you have 3 individuals here, and I'm not tooting our own horns, but we have college degrees. We have careers. We're headed on that path of success, and it's because of our teachers. It's because of people like Mr. Heintz, people like Mr. Dye, people like Mr. Needle. You know, I mean, you know, the Ms. Wakamatsu at Desert View High School, Mr. Kruger at Desert View High School. You know, there was such, you know, legendary teachers that made a difference and deeply continue to care about this community. And so we owe it to our students. And, you know, I really wanted our listeners to hear this because, and again, I'm dying to, when we post, you know, this online, I'm dying to see the comments, you know, because, you know, you have 3 individuals here and there's thousands of individuals that you impacted. And so I want to thank you for dedicating your career to Sunnyside. I mean, it has made a difference to many, many people. And thank you for coming on the show. We truly appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for the invite.
I was going to share just one last thought also. Mr. Gastelum mentioned it earlier, and you know, teachers do change lives, and they impact lives for the good. And I don't remember if this was a poster in your room or something that you would say to your class, but I remember this quote that you always used to use, and that is, "To be fully human, one must serve." And oh, look at that! You had it in your talking points. And you know, everybody talks about the Sunnyside District and how special and unique it is, and I think it's because of teachers like you who taught us that it's all about service. It's all about coming back. It's all about heart and just giving everything you have to the community that you serve. And so you taught, besides from English and great grammar, you taught us all how to be fully human.
And you are showing your humanity by coming back to Sunnyside and serving your community. Talking about proud moments. When I see teachers, I went through your website prior to coming here, and I'm looking at all of the Sunnyside students. So many of the Sunnyside students come back to Sunnyside to serve their community.
Absolutely.
And that is, you know, success for a teacher.
Yeah.
When the students are successful and they're willing to give back for the next generation of Sunnyside. The Sunnyside community is, which I'm not telling you anything, is special. It is truly a special community. And I just feel very fortunate to have been a part of it for as long as I did. And you make me feel like I'm still part of it. So thank you.
You are. You'll always be a part of it. And so with that, this wraps up this episode of Somos Sunnyside. Hasta la próxima. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Somos Sunnyside. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found it entertaining. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and share our podcast with la comunidad. For updates on future episodes and more, be sure to follow us on social media and visit our website at susd12.org. We appreciate your support and can't wait to have you back for the next episode. Hasta la próxima vez en Somos Sunnyside.